It's the Opperman Report. Join digital forensic investigator and PI Ed Opperman for an in-depth discussion of conspiracy theories, strategy of New World Order resistance, high-profile court cases in the news, and interviews with expert guests and authors on these topics and more. It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay, welcome to the Opperman Report. I am your host, Private Investigator Ed Opperman. Okay. Have you ever thought about opening your own mobile cart or kiosk business? I bet you think about it every week around this time. Have you ever thought about opening your own mobile cart or kiosk business? Perhaps the current business you have right now wants to add multiple point-of-sale locations across the country quickly. Maybe the facility you manage could kickstart revenue by adding coffee, food, or retail services. Let's say you manage a building there, a hotel, or a hospital, or warehouse, factory, and you want to bring in some extra money. You can put a little coffee cart, a little donuts in the lobby there. CartKing.com can be the answer to your needs. CartKing.com is a North American designer and manufacturer of mobile retail coffee, food, and carts and kiosks. The best that money can buy. For 20 years, CartKing.com has been working with clients all across America and large corporations, small individual people, to produce the finest outdoor carts and kiosks for any application. If you need a big one for outdoors, you want to sell souvenirs by the Little League stand there, right? Or you want something indoors, a little coffee cart, a coffee station, souvenir stand, something like that. CartKing.com. It's cart-king.com. You go to 877-986-7771. Give them a call. Tell them Ed Opperman sent you. Okay. And what do you call it? You go to the website, cart-king.com. You pick out the design you think applies to your business. Give them a call. They'll custom design it for you, custom build it for you, and then they'll ship it worldwide. cart-king.com. Okay, and the show would be off the air if it weren't for cart-king.com. So if you call them up, tell them you can yell at them for that. Okay, well, here we are. Today is Friday, November 30th, and it's 7:04 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Now, if you're listening live tonight, the previous show you heard tonight with Charles Upham and about his daughter Misty, that was a best of show. That was a previously broadcast show. Okay, and we're playing it for you tonight. And what the situation is, as I've been trying to explain to people, is we haven't had the funds to continue the show the way I'd like to. So I sent out an email this week, and if you want to get on the email list to keep up to date with all this kind of stuff, you can go to OppermanReport.com, and you can sign in, so join the mailing list, right? And then every month, 2 months, when I give you an update of what we just added to the member section or what's going on, you get an email notification from us. And the situation right now is what I've been talking about for the past few days. I put up a couple of urgent broadcasts that went up on iHeart and iTunes and YouTube and Spreaker, SoundCloud, all that kind of stuff. For the past couple of months, I've been overextending myself in the expenses of the show, and I've been putting it on my credit card. And we haven't had any funds come in. Very little memberships and zero donations. I got more donations today than in the past 3 months. So I've been putting it on my credit card. And I just couldn't continue that any longer. So I was we were bankrupt. The show was over. So I put out these urgent broadcasts and these appeals for donations and for memberships. And we have some coming in. But in order to encourage memberships, okay, and you can join, you can become a member for $6 a month. So to encourage that, what we're going to be doing for the rest of this year, for the rest of the month of December, is all the brand new content, the new interviews, will be going into the member section. And then what we'll be playing for you on the live Friday and Saturday night sections will be best of shows and classic episodes and that kind of stuff. And this Friday night solo section will still be live and new content, kind of an update on what's going on and news of the week and that kind of stuff. So if you listen tonight, you heard an episode with Charles Upham about his daughter Misty, who was raped at the Golden Globe Awards. You know, this is way before the Me Too movement and all that kind of stuff like that. And it's not confirmed 100%, but it's pretty obvious that it was Harvey Weinstein that raped her, just because of the description of the situation and his daughter's fear of the person and the rapist getting high fives and all that kind of stuff. Now, if you look on the internet and YouTube and these kind of broadcasts and stuff like that, you'll find many reports, articles, and people doing their little YouTube videos about this story. And they mention Misty Upham, and they mention Charles Upham, and they misquote him in these articles. This is the only interview he's done this long where he actually had a chance to tell the true story from his own mouth. Now, it would be a lot easier for me, you know, as a broadcaster, to just, you know, turn on YouTube and just stand there, you know, point the camera at my face and just say, hey, I read this article and she was raped, but, you know, and then Harvey Weinstein murdered her, right? But that's not what actually happened. So this was his first opportunity to actually come on the air and tell the true story of how his daughter passed in real life, in reality. Not what sounds great, what sounds sensational, and sounds what these articles published and what these people go on with their YouTube channels and just make things up. Okay? And I think that's what I'm trying to get across here. That's what we're trying to do here. Okay? The truth is good enough, you know? And it's interesting enough, and it's important enough to tell the truth. We don't need to sensationalize things and make things up and lie to get a bigger audience or be cozy with our audience and make them feel good and stroke their back and make them, you know, and tell them what they want to hear. Okay, I believe it's my responsibility to tell you what I find out, you know. I obtain the facts, and I come back and I report them to you as the best that I can. If I get them wrong, you know, I'll tell you I got them wrong. Okay? But without a lot of sensationalism and outright, you know, lying. So that's the effort we're trying to make here today for you. Now, tomorrow evening, as long as we have our friend Shane over there in Ireland is able to fit in the time and get, because we've been scrambling this week like crazy. You have no idea, okay? Not just with this too, but you know, Vic's applying for colleges and stuff. You know, and I got my own work. You know, and Shane has his own job. You know, we have our own responsibilities to do besides this show. So, coming up tomorrow, I think her name is Barbara Pilling. Let me check see if I can find this. I'm pretty sure it's Barbara Pilling. The woman who was a model, and then she was approached by Trump at a party when she was only 16 years old. She told him she was 17. But even still, it's Barbara Pilling. Even after he knew she was 17, he was still trying to hit on her. So that'll be part one. And then part two, we got this horrific story. Monique Morgan. This is an exclusive interview too. You know, I talked to her for I think about a half hour, an hour. Hey, a local Las Vegas woman whose husband got the flu shot, and now he's in the ICU. And what he's diagnosed with is a direct result from getting the flu shot. This isn't some kind of a myth or rumor or something like that. And we don't want these kind of stories. This is a real story. Real people here in Las Vegas. The story's gone international. I have the first and I believe only still full-length interview with this woman where she describes everything that happened. There's little articles and little tidbits out there here and there. And there's even one article where they brought in a local doctor who's also a friend of mine too, you know, who I also happen to know. And where she kind of poo-poos and say, oh, this doesn't come directly from the flu shot. This is something, but the diagnosis is this is from the flu shot. You can get this from the flu shot. And this guy's like practically paralyzed right now. He's got a breathing tube in his mouth, and they're communicating to him by him moving his foot, saying yes or no. And they're replacing all his blood. They're giving him an entire body blood transfusion. So when he gets out of this, it's going to be rehabilitation. He's going to go through rehab. He's not going to just walk out of the hospital and go back to work. So it's a very serious situation. So I thought it was important enough to get those two shows out to you because it's like a public service. Also, too, we just added to the member section in the past 24 hours Jamie Deluxe, who has a YouTube channel, and I taped an hour with him, and we'd be talking about Hollywood pedophilia and all that kind of stuff, the topics he covers on his show. We pretty much go through everything, all of the shows he's talked about. And he seems to be very happy with the way it went. That's just been added to the member section at OppermanReport.com. Then I did another hour with good old Hank Harrison, the father of Courtney Love. And we get into some stuff. We go over a lot of the old stuff. We talked about the film we're both in, Drugs as Weapons Against Us, the John Potash film, which is coming out. You're gonna be able to watch it on Amazon soon. Okay, it's coming out. And I think Netflix or something picked it up. But he just sent me a long email. I apologize, John. I just had so many things on my mind. I'm exhausted here. So me and Hank talk about that, and we talk about different things, and we talk about LSD and the whole LSD culture, and legalizing marijuana. We talk about the fires in California. It was a really interesting conversation with Hank. And again, with Hank, you got to go back and listen to the old shows, all the stuff. You get a little bit of nuggets here and there with Hank, and sometimes they turn out to be real gold. So that's in our member section as well. Now today, I taped 2 hours today, and that'll be in the member section either tomorrow or the next day, whatever, but during this week. What is it? It's, one was with Ernest Del Casal, who's a local father's rights advocate. Okay, and he ran a little paralegal type business where he would help people through the family court process with the focus on advocating for fathers. And this guy was a big help in my life when we talk about the local family court system here. Very interesting conversation. He loved it. I loved it. I love the guy too. He's a very good man, very good friend of mine. Then I taped with Yoli Castro, who's down there in Mexico. Right, we're all in the midst of all this stuff with these 9,000 people in this caravan, and her firsthand experience in reporting on this topic is, I think you'll find it's different than you'll hear anywhere else. So we got that. I'm talking tomorrow. I'm going to be interviewed by Joe Gazebo. I'm going back on his show. It's Parallax Views, I think it's called. So I'll be putting that in the member section too. And then Monday, I'm taping with this guy who's involved with the Manson family as of today. He's involved in the whole Manson family and what's going on in the Manson family and all those characters around that. And we'll be talking to him on Monday. There's a lot going on there, too. I don't know how much we'll be able to get into, but hopefully we'll there's some fascinating. I get calls from people, you wouldn't believe. Okay. So we're going to be talking about that on Monday. And then I'm interviewing this guy, Nick. I think it's Nick McKinley, who's a former CIA agent who's doing some kind of child advocacy thing where he's investigating and reporting on human trafficking. So I'm taping with him coming up this week as well. So I've got a lot of good content. Now, what a week we had this week, man. I was all ready. Man, what a week. This is some of the craziest stuff I've ever seen in my life. I was all ready to talk about Manafort. And then you see this stuff about Jerome Corsi. And then you find out that Jerome Corsi... where do you even start with all this? Let me look at the clock. Maybe I can play a commercial and get together. Because it's just so much. It's unbelievable. Let me start with this. Kind of get you in the mood. You see where I'm going here today with all this. Let me pull this up. Okay, here it is. In New York State, a person who is under the age of 16, but older than 13, can consent to sex with a person who is no more than 4 years older. Now, the crime, so if you're 16, between 16 and 13, you can have sex with someone 4 years around your age. The crime of third-degree rape only happens when a person over the age of 21 has sex with a person who is under 17 years old or younger. And then you can be charged with third-degree rape in New York State. Now, keep that in the back of your head. Because we're going to be taking a whole trip around the world, okay, this week. Because where do we start? We see this week Paul Manafort. Manafort was, everybody knows he worked for Trump, campaign manager, had this storied history with Stone, and they were the lobbyists for the torturer dictators, right? Worked for Nixon, all that kind of stuff, right? And has all these connections to Ukraine and all this stuff, right? Gets busted, tax evasion, all this kind of stuff, lying on bank applications, all that stuff that they get you with, right? Really went after him. And then he goes to trial, and he loses. And right at the end of that trial, he says, you know what, man, if there's anybody who could beat a jury and beat this case, it's Paul Manafort. He's got everything. He's got the political connections. He's got the government connections. He's got the organized crime connections. He's got the whole Russian government with him, too. This guy could pull this off. He can get to a juror. He can get to the judge. But he loses. And right, I predicted, I said, he's going to beat this case. Right toward the end, I was thinking, he can beat this case. He's crooked enough to pull it off. But he loses. He's still sitting there in jail. The guy's almost 80 years old, man. There's not much hope he's going to stand up and take this case, But instead, he turns around and he makes a deal with Mueller. And he agrees to testify. To avoid, because of the second case. He pleads guilty to the second case. He's going to cooperate with Mueller. Then we find out this week that Mueller says, hey, man, this guy's been lying to us. And we're taking away the plea deal. We're taking away his deal. And we may even charge him with more crimes. Because he's been lying to us. He's been committing more crimes. We're going to find out all about this in the coming few days. Now, when I see this, right, because I'm a defense investigator, people who listen, I guess I talk to the wall or whatever, but people have no idea who I am or what I'm doing or what. I'm a private investigator. I'm a criminal defense investigator. As a young man, I worked on some of the biggest organized crime cases that in the history of this country, where Giuliani was the prosecutor, the Pizza Connection trial, the Commission trial, the Carmine Persico case. Okay, and then, but also too, besides that, that was just in my early days, and people have heard of those cases. Worked on many RICO cases, drug conspiracy cases, organized crime cases, many. Worked as a consultant for a major nationwide motorcycle gang, motorcycle club. Consulted on their cases. Again, RICO, organized crime type cases. Many, and even friends of mine, okay, because I grew up in these situations, friends of mine, people I know, people I've worked with, people I've done things with, I've consulted on their cases. I'm very familiar with this process. And we hear, so when I see that the prosecution has a witness and they lose their witness, okay, Manafort was going to be a witness for Mueller, for the prosecution to go after Trump and all his pals and his family, all this kind of stuff. And Mueller lost that witness. This is what happened. You can't sugarcoat this in some kind of way. So the first thing I said was, well, gee whiz, it looks like Mueller's case is falling apart. Here's his witness. If I'm the defendant in that case, or my client's the defendant in that case, and one of the prosecution witnesses just got bumped, lost his plea deal because he's not cooperating correctly, I say, well, the prosecution, that's a good day for me. The prosecution's blowing their case. They're losing. This is good news. Whether I like Trump or I don't like Trump or whatever, that's good for the defense. The prosecution lost their witness. You can't deny that. You can't sugarcoat that in any kind of way. But then I hear it comes out that Manafort has been talking to the prosecution through his deal. He made this deal. But at the same time, he's taken the information he's gleaning from the prosecutor, from Mueller, and giving that to Trump, the defendant who he's supposed to be turned on, testifying against. Now, this kind of thing can happen, okay, where you have an organized crime case, someone's testifying against you, and you run into him. Someone who you're with, one of your guys runs into him, you kind of pull him aside, hey, well, what's going on? And you kind of talk. That kind of thing can happen. If you're in prison, if it's a gang case, the Bloods, the Crips, you can kind of, you send those little notes back and forth, you can kind of get word back, and this kind of thing can happen. But the idea, the way this is happening, is that Manafort is in prison. They got him locked away tight as a drum. And he's given this information to his lawyers. And then his lawyers are in communication with Trump's lawyers, in fact, Giuliani, and passing this information back to Giuliani. And we know this is happening not because of speculation, or we know this because Giuliani told the New York Times this is what's happening. Now, I gotta tell you something, man. I'm 55 years old. And when I heard that, I just said, this is impossible. This cannot be reality. This is too far-fetched to believe. And I gotta tell you, I'm still thinking that this is just too far-fetched for me to buy. Let me take a little commercial break and we'll come back. And now a word from our sponsors. Check out CartKing.com, 877-986-7771. Have you ever thought about opening your own mobile cart or kiosk business? Perhaps your current business wants to add multiple point-of-sale locations across the country quickly. Maybe the facility you manage could kickstart revenue by adding coffee, food, or retail services, like let's say you own an office building or a warehouse. Put one of these carts there in the lobby. Well, CartKing.com can be the answer to your needs. CartKing.com is a North American designer and manufacturer of the finest mobile retail coffee and food carts and kiosks money can buy. For 20 years, CartKing.com has been working with clients and corporations across America to provide indoor and outdoor carts and kiosks for any application. From large, heated, and secure outdoor retail or food kiosks to smaller, more mobile coffee kiosks or coffee stations, coffee carts, CartKing.com designs and builds them all. Carts and kiosks are fun, and so are the dozens of designs on the website, CartKing.com. Please visit today at CartKing.com or just call them at 877-986-7771. Tell them Ed Opperman sent you and you get a good deal. Remember, all these shows on Awake are brought to you by emailrevealer.com. You can go to emailrevealer.com and get a copy of my book, How to Become a Successful Private Investigator. You also do all the kind of different services for you. Online dating service investigations called an online infidelity investigation. And that's where you give us your husband or your boyfriend, your girlfriend's email address, and we trace it back to their online dating websites, and we return a list of all the dating sites that email is registered to. We can expand on that investigation and trace it back to porn sites, escort service sites, swinger sites, gambling websites, and even prescription drug websites, and all kinds of digital forensics, computer and cell phone digital forensics, where we can recover deleted content from an email or a hard drive and produce a report for you that you can use in court. That's emailrevealer.com, or you can contact me at oppermaninvestigations@gmail.com. The Opperman Report is brought to you by SubhashTechnosis.com. Subash Technosis is a search engine optimization and website design company. They're located in India, so you know you're going to save a lot of money and get top quality service. They offer all sorts of business process outsourcing, data entry, banking BPO services, recruitment process outsourcing, software testing, offshoring, research network, customer care, press release, content writing and distribution, and much, much more. Now, you can get a hold of Subhash Technosis by email at info@subhashtechnosis.com. Their website is www.subhashtechnosis.com, and their Skype is ANUSHASUBASH. Okay, welcome back to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, Private Investigator Ed Opperman. Now, when we left, I was telling you about how it's almost like a reality TV show, like a bad script to a bad movie, like a Lifetime movie, you know, where the guy pleads guilty. You know, first he goes to trial, then he pleads guilty, then he goes to cooperate with the prosecution, and then he doubles down, double crosses him, and goes and starts feeding him. That doesn't happen in real life. It can't, and I'm not some babe in the woods. Okay, I'm very familiar with cases and people and other lawyers and other investigators and stuff like that, who are involved in witness tampering and bribing judges and getting to jurors. I know that stuff happens, but not like this. Okay, trust me, not like this. And you see these talking heads on TV and these lawyers and stuff, and they're saying, "Well, you know, this is so unheard of. This is so very unusual." Okay, wait a second. The only way this kind of thing can be, because this is, you got to understand, there's another element here that we have pardons in the mix, and we have certain things like Trump can appoint judges. He can appoint prosecutors, federal judgeships, federal prosecutors. They've got that as well. Now, these lawyers on TV, or they're interviewing, they can't come right out and say, "Oh, listen, this is going on," because, you know, these lawyers are being offered, you know, federal judge, lifetime judge positions. You know, they're being offered seats. They're being offered prosecutor. They can't come around and say that because they're going to get sued by these lawyers. So they can't say it. Okay, I don't want to say no one's going to sue me, but I got my own problems. But this is such an off the chart idea that either there's going to be a flood of pardons coming through, or there's going to be like an overthrow of the government. They're operating on a level that they have. There's a level that they're not afraid. We're in new territory. Okay, when you hear this. Now, a lot of people will say to me, well, Ed, yeah, that's right. We've been talking about this all along. Aren't you following QAnon? There's about to be mass arrests, and there's all these sealed indictments and stuff like that. Well, interesting enough, there were sealed indictments this week. Okay, we know that for a fact. Those sealed indictments that you hear these people talking about, that there's about to be mass arrests of Democrats, okay, and there's sealed indictments. Well, it turns out we know for a fact, yeah, there's sealed indictments, because there was a sealed indictment this week and a guilty plea and a cooperation agreement of Michael Cohen. That was a sealed indictment this week. Did you know that? That's one of the sealed indictments that when you go on these QAnon forums, that's one of the sealed indictments that they're counting, is Michael Cohen. Another one, a sealed indictment, is Julian Assange. And Julian Assange is an arrest, a warrant too for Julian Assange too. We know about this, and those are sealed too as well. So at least 4 or 5, 6 of those sealed filings that they talk about over there are some of Trump's closest people and allies. Okay, and then there's some sealed filings too in Jerome Corsi's plea deal that he's released. And by the way, Jerome Corsi used to beg to come on this show. Okay, I never had him on. I kind of regret it, but you know. Anyway, there's so much here. But I read to you this thing. You say, Ed, what happened to the, You started off the show reading us this thing about New York law, 16 years old. What the hell, Ed? What are you getting older? You getting senile? Yeah. Okay. I start watching this and I said, this is all too unbelievable. And then I start thinking, because there's some things I know about, that I know about personally firsthand. I told you about my experience, okay, with grand juries and with RICO cases and informants and all that kind of stuff. I have a lifetime of experience with that. I'm 55 years old, okay? And I've lived a life. There's like 5 books written about me. You can find out there's stuff I've done and been involved in. Way before I ever became a YouTuber or had a radio show. Okay? Way before all this. Stuff in my life. But I know some things about what's going on here. And then I can tell you a little first-hand information. Now, I've talked to you about it. If you go back and you look at my archives of this show, especially this live show and interviews I've done talking about the Epstein case and talking about, I talk about things around June, July of 2016 that I was aware of the Stormy Daniels case. Not by name. I didn't know their names, but I knew that there were Playboy models and porn stars that were shaking down Trump. I knew about this. Okay? And then when you find out the names involved with all the people, you find out the one, one of the people doing it was my lawyer. Another one was my ex-agent. They were involved in this. Okay? And I was also involved in some other things. I was involved in a lawsuit against Trump. I also consulted on another lawsuit against Trump. So, I know some things. And I've told you before that my name is gonna be come up in what's his name, Michael Cohen's texts and stuff. I know my name's in there. My name's out there. And I also know for a fact that Mueller and his team here, all this stuff here, is not looking into Trump and Trump's family, their biggest weakness. And that is the Jeffrey Epstein case itself and the Jeffrey Epstein-like allegations about Trump and Trump's family members that's out there. People I've talked to, people I've communicated with, people involved firsthand. Okay? Now, so I'm thinking this. I'm saying this Manafort thing is unbelievable. It's illogical. It's beyond belief. It's not real. It can't be. That doesn't happen in real. People sitting in prison do things like that under normal circumstances. And when you throw in the monkey wrench, okay, there's pardons and then there's judgeships can be tossed. Yeah, okay, maybe, but still, no. Impossible. And then I start thinking, well, Mueller and Cohen, these guys, yeah, they were involved in the anthrax cover-up and the 9/11 cover-up. Yeah. And they covered up for Hillary and the what's that thing, the Clinton Foundation and stealing Haiti. Well, what's going on here? Don't get me wrong. It is obvious Trump's in bed with the Russians. There's no doubt. We see more things going on here every day. All the stuff coming out with Corsi this week and Stone and all that stuff. And then we're hearing now that the latest thing, and Cohen, by the way, too, many of the things he's confessing to and admitting to, his working on these deals with the Russians, it confirms things are in the Steele dossier even further. So don't get me wrong, okay? Trump's a dirtbag, and the people around him are dirtbags, and they're perverts. Okay? There's no doubt in my mind of any of these things. But why isn't Comey looking into that area, the Epstein stuff? Why isn't he invested? And I know he's not. Because I talked to these people, and I asked them. And they said no. I know he's not. Because he hasn't come to me. It's okay. And I know stuff here. My name's over there. I know it is. No one's contacted me. about any of that. No one wants to know about that. When there's other cases, too, that aren't in the news, people behind the scenes know about it. As a matter of fact, another thing I'm going to tell you about if I have time. I know I ain't going to have time. But Tom Arnold, I know he knows about it. I know he knows about a lot of this stuff because we talked off the air. And we talked about some stuff, and then I see him tweeting things, right after our conversation about Russian teen hookers, involving Jared and Jared's father and that whole situation there. Is Comey looking into that? I don't know for a fact, but I do know that Tom Arnold just got a visit from the Secret Service interrogating him about a tweet that he wrote, asking him if he's a threat to the President of the United States of America, President Mr. Trump. I do know there's a lot out there, too. Webster Tarpley did some excellent reporting on Melania's background and her history. And then he was sued into silence. He's an old man. He couldn't fight that off. I'm not going to put a bullseye on him. He apologized. He's But everybody who is in the know behind the scenes knows everything he said is true. Okay, it's just all there. It's real, So, I'm asking you in a way, what the hell's going on here? Because all this Manafort stuff doesn't make sense. It doesn't pass the sniff test. All this other stuff here, why isn't Comey looking into their greatest weakness? If he really wanted to take these people down, the evidence is there. There's other victims, there's other people that haven't been involved in any litigation or anything. Teenage employees, 16 years old, year-long relationships. I know that I've contacted them. I know their names. In some of these cases, I know their social security numbers. I know everything, Okay, in some of these situations. Yeah, I'm getting a lot off my chest tonight. I feel kind of better. I'm getting things out here. And I know 90% of the people only know what the hell I'm talking about. They'll never get it. Whatever. Okay? I don't care anymore. And none of this seems to be working out for me anyway. So, I'm thinking all this. And I'm saying, what? Why? And then what happens? Almost at the same time, the Miami Herald comes out with this 4-part series of articles and interactive clicking off people's heads and pictures and stuff about Jeffrey Epstein. Okay, go down and find the article, Jeffrey Epstein in the Miami. You just Google Miami Herald Epstein, and it'll come right up. And fascinating. The Miami Herald gets around to reporting what I reported 4.5 years ago. There's nothing new in there. There's not one word in that article that you haven't heard on this show first. Nothing. Okay? As a matter of fact, they leave a lot out. There's no mention. And by the way, too, how come the Miami Herald didn't contact me about this? Everybody else involved contacts me to ask me this and that, consult on this and that. But the Miami Herald doesn't contact me? The last time I Googled the name Jeffrey Epstein, and I did a show about it or whatever, and I'm looking for a picture, and I would Google his name and then go to Google Images, my face comes up. Did you know that? I was talking about this before anybody. And by the way, read the article too and hear about everybody's getting threatened, all that kind of stuff, at my own personal risk. Okay? Professionally and physically, the whole deal. Now, I Googled it today. You know, you got to go down half the page before the name Opperman comes up when you Google Epstein, because now everybody's talking about it now. But even too, then if you Google my name, Ed Opperman, and you go to images, his face comes up. Okay, so there's no doubt that there's an obvious association. My name's in text; it's on paperwork all over the place on this case. The Miami Herald decides to do a big giant expose, but no one thinks to talk to me and call me up about it. Say, well, what do you know that you can't talk about, Ed Opperman? Is there anything? No, wasting your time. Okay, I get calls in other cases, Me Too cases, all kind. People, big names. If I mention their names, you'd know the names. Okay, well, Ed, your name came up, and well, what do you know? Also, too, you should know, okay, when you're a private investigator, you have these databases, right? You need a license. You need all kind of credentials to get these access to these databases of people's social security numbers and date of births and all this kind of stuff. Right? Their employment, their criminal records, all this kind of stuff. Not the stuff you Google, get everybody's the real stuff, the professional stuff. The collection agencies get them, PIs, law firms. Bail bondsmen, process servers. You need to be in the business to get this access to this stuff. When you do searches on there, it flags. If you do a name, you search Britney Spears, okay, a flag's going to come up down at the company, and you're going to get an audit saying, "Hey, what's going on? What are you involved in?" Sometimes when you're doing these searches, you're working on cases. You're investigating somebody, and that person's under investigation by the FBI. You get a call from the FBI. Hey, what are you looking into so-and-so? So am I. What's going on? Okay. I was working on I told this story a few times, where Neil Sean from Journey, Don't Stop Believing. Okay, he ran off with one of the Real Housewives of Washington, D.C., Mikhail Salahi, whatever her name was. Right, and when I get a call, oh, she's missing, she was abducted, what's going on, Ed, can you find her? I start looking into her, and at the same time the FBI got involved. I get a call from the FBI, hey, we see you're looking into so-and-so, what's going on? Okay, or that's a case I can talk about, but that kind of thing happens, okay? How come it didn't happen to this? You'd think it's a little deeper. So everyone knows what's going on. So this article comes up, this big 4-page spread article. Everybody's talking about it. They're sending me the article. Ed, look at this. I guess that's a whole other story that really pisses me off. Hey, look at this link, Ed. Look at this. All this great stuff in this article. Ed, look at this. All right, thank you. I didn't know about that. Okay. How come there's nothing in that article about the 24-page letter where Epstein, his attorney, Jerry Lefcourt, who I knew when I was 19, 20 years old, he used to be Abby Hoffman's lawyer, Jerry Lefcourt, wrote this 24-page letter saying that Jeffrey Epstein helped create the Clinton Foundation. Now, I got the 24-page letter. Where is it? It's in OppermanReport.com in my members section. People have asked me for it. Charles O'Tell asked me for it. I sent it to him. He doesn't seem to want to publish it, but I got it. You turn on MSNBC in the morning, they show you a little 10-second clip of the search warrant execution at Jeffrey Epstein's mansion. Right? I got the whole thing. You want to see the whole thing? I got it in my members section. You want to see all the Epstein docs? I got them all. Okay. They talk about, in this wonderful Miami Herald article, about how Alex Acosta, who was the prosecutor down there, federal prosecutor down there in Florida, and about how he ran interference for Epstein. And it talks about how he wrote this. He had published this long 3-page letter about how he was the victim. He was under surveillance and pressure by Epstein, his lawyers, political pressure, and that's why he had to give this sweetheart deal to Epstein. But now that he's working for Trump, everybody wants to, now they're going after him. I found out through Pierce Redmond, actually found it out, and he told me that it was Conchita Sarnoff who wrote the book Trafficking, who was kind of releasing, she's the one that released that letter for Acosta. And I had Conchita Sarnoff on this show. And when I had her on this show, her publisher called me up and told me his name is Victor Ostrovsky. He says, yeah, how are you? You have my client on you? I'm a Mossad agent. He's a famous Mossad agent, by the way. And I wrote my own book about using deception as a Mossad agent. And the name of his publishing company has all these really names like a Cover Story. you know what I mean? That's the name of his publishing company. Okay. That's interesting. Mossad agent publishes a book by Conchita Sarnoff when she's fronting for Acosta, what's going on here? I wonder. That's not in the Miami Herald article, right? See, this is the big boys. This is what you're hearing about. Yeah, all the other YouTubers to come out of the woodwork and tell me what they're working on, what they got going on over there. YouTubers. All right? Now, and also in this wonderful Miami Herald article, I'm so impressed by. Learned so much this week. They barely mention the Mar-a-Lago connection to all of this, and Epstein staying over there, and Prince Andrew. He was under the name Andrew York there, but Prince Andrew was there with this kid, this poor little kid. You see pictures of this little girl too when she's 12 years old. If you actually sit down and read all the court docs in these cases here, which I've done. A few others have. But they barely mention Mar-a-Lago. And when they do, they says, well, Ghislaine Maxwell, she went, because she was going to all the spas, trying to recruit people for Epstein. She went to all of them. And when she went to Mar-a-Lago, yeah, she met this little girl there, and she recruited this little girl, Virginia. And then they talk about his plane, the Lolita Express. Whenever you hear that crap, man, Lolita Express and Pedo Island, all that kind of stuff, close your ears. Don't even listen to that anymore. They're trying to distract you. It's a monkey wrench. They're taking you down a little bunny trail. Who's taking you down that bunny trail? The people who write books about using deception. That's who's taking you down that bunny trail. I can tell you all this stuff firsthand, not stuff I read in books or anything. Okay? There's no mention of Netanyahu, Woody Allen, George Stephanopoulos, Katie Couric, Courtney Love, Ivanka Trump. They're all in Epstein's Little Black Book. Everybody wants to talk about the Little Black Book, too. Right. Miami Herald doesn't mention any of that stuff. I wonder why. Isn't that important to this story? So now Michael Cohen comes out, and we find out that Donald Trump is offering Putin $50 million condo. And these negotiations with Felix Sater. Felix Sater came out, he's admitting all this stuff that's all true. Felix Sater, who I thought had some kind of deal going on. This looks like a guy that has no fear of prison, but let's see what's going on. I don't know. This is way above my pay grade. I can't figure this stuff out. I'd have to be a YouTuber for many, many years before I could figure all this out. Like many of the YouTubers figured out. Hey, I'm exhausted, man. But, explain to me. In the same week, we're hearing that Michael Cohen is negotiating a $50 million condo to give directly to Putin through Putin's oligarchs. And Trump's got all these other connections, too. Trump's got Felix Sater, who's flying over there. And he's taking Ivanka there. And Ivanka's sitting in Putin's chair and all this stuff. And then if all that's going on, why does Trump need Jerome Corsi involved in this? Why do they need Jerome Corsi? Why do they need Roger Stone? Why do they need Julian Assange? Well, you tell me. Why does he need them? Why are they in this loop? just sending these weird coded emails back and forth. We see the emails. We know they're somehow involved. There's a lot of covering up going on here. Okay, one thing that might explain some of this is the whole Rosneft. Grant Stearns reporting on Rosneft. Look that up. That seems to make sense. This goes so deep, you know. We hear about the NRA getting totally bought off by the Russians too as well. But let me see what else I got here, because this is all just my head's swimming from all this, man. You know? And I know there's some debate out there too about Assange. You know, is he a real whistleblower or what? And that, you know, we should still respect his whistleblowing abilities, even though we see he's totally in the bag for Trump. And we shouldn't want to see him arrested, even though, and we know he's in the bag for Trump and tried to get Trump elected, because we see his emails and his Twitter comments back and forth between Trump Jr. We know that exists because Trump Jr. released them, where he's asking for tax returns. Let me release your tax returns for you. Make me ambassador to Australia. Whatever you wanted to do. You know what I mean? So you tell me, okay? I'm, you know, this should be like my Steele dossier, okay? I've gone over there. I've picked up this information, and I'm bringing it back, and I'm dropping it in your lap. Now, you tell me what it all means. You figure this out. But can you do it without being so partisan that you have to say, well, even though, you know, Manafort, the prosecution's still humming along, it's going great. You know? They got two different theories of it. By the way, too, we know also, too, that Stone was offering $2 million to buy these emails from this other hacker guy, you know. Stone's admitted that. Why do we need these? Why are there two major channels here going after these emails? And another thing, too, what the hell was in those emails that was so damaging to Clinton? That this is groundbreaking, this is the end of the world. What was in there that was so groundbreaking, that was so damaging, other than all the Pizzagate stuff? And no one talks about that. Everyone talks about how damaging the emails was to Clinton, to Hillary, blah, 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 blah. But really the only thing in there was the Pizzagate stuff. What else was there? But the mainstream news calls that fake news, you know? And the other thing, too, is all that Pizzagate stuff now is forever tainted because the chain of custody goes to the Russians, it goes to Assange. Assange is dirty. He's got dirty hands. That stuff is totally tainted now. I know people say, well, Assange and all their evidence has been used in court in the past. This will never hold up because it goes through the Russians. Okay? So, there's a rat in this soup, man, you know, and I can't figure it out 100% yet. So what I'm doing for you tonight is I'm telling you what I know firsthand. You can chew it up, or, you know, figure it out as much as you can. I can't say everything. Can't come right out and say everything. Wish I could. I think, too, what I'm going to start doing, start feeding some blind items. I had that kid, Jamie Deluxe, on the show, you know, and he's always blind item this, blind item that. I'll feed people blind items. I know a lot of stuff. I'll feed it to you, you know. Anybody out there want to start to, you know, I'll start feeding you? Got a YouTube channel? YouTube, you're right in the satellite. Okay, I think we're out of time. I think I'm exhausted. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Time's up. Gotta go. Okay, I'll play one more commercial and get the hell out of here. And now a word from our sponsors. Check out CartKing.com, 877-986-7771. Have you ever thought about opening your own mobile cart or kiosk business? Perhaps your current business wants to add multiple point-of-sale locations across the country quickly. Maybe the facility you manage could kickstart revenue by adding coffee, food, or retail services, like let's say you own an office building or a warehouse. Put one of these carts there in the lobby. Well, CartKing.com can be the answer to your needs. CartKing.com is a North American designer and manufacturer of the finest mobile retail coffee and food carts and kiosks money can buy. For 20 years, CartKing.com has been working with clients and corporations across America to provide indoor and outdoor carts and kiosks for any application. From large, heated, and secure outdoor retail or food kiosks to smaller, more mobile coffee kiosks or coffee stations, coffee carts, CartKing.com designs and builds them all. Carts and kiosks are fun, and so are the dozens of designs on the website, CartKing.com. Please visit today at CartKing.com or just call them at 877-986-7771. Tell them Ed Opperman sent you and you get a good deal. Remember, all these shows on Awake are brought to you by emailrevealer.com. You can go to emailrevealer.com and get a copy of my book, How to Become a Successful Private Investigator. You also do all the kind of different services for you. Online dating service investigations called an online infidelity investigation. And that's where you give us your husband or your boyfriend, your girlfriend's email address, and we trace it back to their online dating websites, and we return a list of all the dating sites that email is registered to. We can expand on that investigation and trace it back to porn sites, escort service sites, swinger sites, gambling websites, and even prescription drug websites, and all kinds of digital forensics, computer and cell phone digital forensics, where we can recover deleted content from an email or a hard drive and produce a report for you that you can use in court. That's emailrevealer.com, or you can contact me at oppermaninvestigations@gmail.com. The Opperman Report is brought to you by SubhashTechnosis.com. Subash Technosis is a search engine optimization and website design company. They're located in India, so you know you're going to save a lot of money and get top quality service. They offer all sorts of business process outsourcing, data entry, banking BPO services, recruitment process outsourcing, software testing, offshoring, research network, customer care, press release, content writing and distribution, and much, much more. Now, you can get a hold of Subash Technosis by email at info@subashtechnosis.com. Their website is www.subashtechnosis.com, and their Skype is ANUSHASUBASH. Okay, welcome back to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, Private Investigator Ed Opperman. I would like to leave you with one last thing. I do want to thank everybody who has contributed this past week and who has signed up to the member section. And remember, too, now, all the new content's going into the member section, except for this little 1 hour update I give you every Friday night, at least till the end of the year, okay? Or, if we get enough to hold us over, we'll go right back to the way things were. And I'll bring you new content every week, plus adding new content to the member section. Now, I appreciate, and I know everybody doesn't have money, and everybody can't donate money or subscribe. And so you don't have to contact me and apologize for that. I've been broke too. Don't worry about that. I'm broke right now. Okay, so we're all in this boat together. And don't feel guilty and stop listening to the show because you feel guilty. Now, another thing too is, I'm 56 years old, but I've had kind of a, experienced life. So a lot of people come to me to ask for advice. And, they call me up, they want advice. I don't mind. I'll give you advice. Okay? But I never give people advice until they ask me for advice or a suggestion. Okay? So when you see I'm in crisis here and now, and I need money, okay? I need subscribers, I need donations. That's not me asking for advice. I know your advice is well intentioned, okay? But to get like 1,000 messages, people, Ed, you should do this. Ed, you should. That doesn't help the situation. Okay? And I got to tell you something. If every message I got this week offering me advice and say, hey, Ed, I'm too broke, but here's some advice. If every one of them sent me $1, we're talking $2,000. Okay? So, thanks for the advice, but, I got no time to read that. It just kind of gums up the work. And it's stuff I already know, or someone said before. Just start a Patreon. I know all that stuff, So I appreciate the advice, but please, when I want advice, I'll ask for advice. All right? I love the audience. I really do. I love doing the show. I don't want this to end. I'm heartbroken that we lost KYAH, lost the AM station. I'm heartbroken that we're losing Awake. Although I may be able to save Awake, I'm thinking now, because I think I have another hosting deal going on with emailrevealer.com. So anyway, listen, thank you so much. We're out of time, okay, unfortunately, and doing the best I can to keep everything humming and going. But if you want the new content, we've got a bunch of new content in the member section. $6, you get a month. If we had 100 people, 200 people sign up to $6, we'd be floating through here for months, okay? 100 guys give me $6 a month. I'd be happy as a clam. I'd never bother you for money again. All this Ed's always begging for money. I'm not always begging for money. Went 3 months without asking for a dime. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Good night. If you have donated, if you have subscribed, I really do appreciate it. If you haven't yet, you can still save the show. If you wanted to get on our mailing list too, go to operamingreport.com. All that stuff. Blah, blah, blah. Good night.